It's time for the Sherwin-Williams Painting the Picture to Victory segment. Sherwin-Williams is the official paint provider of Duquesne Athletics. Head coach Jerry Schmitt earned his 150th career win in the home opening victory over West Virginia Wesleyan. Jordan Heisey made his first career start as quarterback and threw 3 touchdowns. All in the second quarter as Duquesne rolled to victory. Jermaine Johnson made his first 2 touchdown catches as a Duke. Joey Isabella caught one, while Jamario Clements and Sean Solomon Jr. each ran for a score. Luke Miller and C.J. Barnes snagged interceptions to lead the Dukes in the shutout. Duquesne held the Bobcats to just 11 yards rushing, the second fewest allowed in a game since joining the NEC in 2008. Duquesne is receiving votes in both national polls for the third straight week. This week's 16 points in the Stat Perform poll and 12 points in the AFCA Coaches poll are the most for DU this season. The defending NEC champion Dukes open conference play this weekend hosting LIU. It's the first home conference opener since the spring 2021 season. Duquesne is 13-3 in NEC opener since joining the league in 2008 and 8-1 when opening at home. LIU is the first conference opponent for the second straight year. The Dukes lead the all-time series against LIU 4-1. 4 of the 5 games have been decided by 1 possession. LIU enters with an 0-5 record. The early season schedule featured 2 ranked opponents, number 16 and 14 Albany and number 6 Villanova, Rhode Island, who is now ranked and was receiving votes at the time, and a road trip to TCU in the FBS. 3 of the 4 FCS games were within 1 score, and the Sharks made a late push at number 6 Villanova last week but came up short 24-10. That was the Sherwin-Williams Painting the Picture to Victory segment. Sherwin-Williams, the official paint provider of Duquesne Athletics.
I was diagnosed with a very rare form of cancer and told you should seek end-of-life care. I went to UPMC, and so the very first time, I didn't get that blank stare. He said, "This is what we do, saving lives like mine."
For all your sports watching needs and great food, meet me at Mike's. Mike's Beer Bar was voted best sports bar in Pittsburgh. 300 local beers, 80 local taps, over 500 beers, and steak on a stone. Mike's Beer Bar, next to PNC Park, Federal Street, North Shore.
As Western Pennsylvania's largest regional public accounting firm with local ownership and management, Schneider Downs gives you the global ideas your company needs right here at home. Schneider Downs. Big thinking, personal focus.
And welcome back to SportsNet Pittsburgh for the Duquesne University Football Coaches Show. Tim Benz along with Jerry Schmitt, brought to you by UPMC and the UPMC Health Plan, the official health care provider of Duquesne Athletics. Coach Schmitt is brought to us today by Cordia. Cordia, creating energy solutions. Jerry, coming off the bye week, what did you spend time focusing on when you didn't have a game on Saturday after getting a win against West Virginia Wesleyan in your first home game of the year the week before?
We were able to focus on healing up a little bit, get some guys that have been nursing injuries, get them some rehab, and getting working back in. A lot of those guys that had missed a few games there are starting to work back in, which is a good thing. We were able to work with some of the younger guys and guys that had not played as many snaps and get them working with the older guys, get some chemistry there, preparing for the depth of our football team moving forward here.
That's against Long Island University for the first conference game of the year, which we'll get to in a second. I am curious about the guys who were coming back from injury. specifically Darius Parentes, your quarterback. He was unable to play against West Virginia Wesleyan coming off the win that you had against Youngstown State. How is he doing? Is he progressing back and on track to potentially play against the Sharks?
He's progressing and on track, and we're hoping to have him on Saturday, obviously. Izzy did a great job, but we're hoping to get him back.
How do you think Jordan Heisey did with that start? It was obviously a spot start after Darius led the win against Youngstown State. A big win for your program, and then Heisey comes in and plays as the quarterback for the first home game. How'd you think he did overall?
I was really happy and pleased with his performance. It's the first time in a number of years that he's been under center, so to speak, in a college football game as the quarterback. And I think he played some games his freshman year up at Lock Haven, but he's a really intelligent football player. He's a really good athlete. He's got a good arm, and he made some good decisions. And I think after the initial rust kicked off there, I was really happy the way he performed through the second and third quarter of our game.
One thing we talked about on the radio side going into that game was how Darius and the wide receivers have started to coalesce as the games went along leading into the conference season. That's interrupted for a game because of his injury. How do you think it bled over to Jordan, and how do you think Darius will be jumping back in that regard?
Those guys are comfortable with Jordan. He gets a lot of snaps. We prepare, for the situation like this if Darius couldn't play, and so those guys get a lot of snaps, not as many as with Darius. So they're comfortable with him, and he's been with us a couple of years here and knows the system. So I thought it was good. Darius will be back here. He's starting to practice and get that timing back with all the guys.
Let's talk about two receivers in particular, one of whom will join us in a little bit, and that's Joey Isabella. Had a couple of big grabs from Jordan, a couple of real nice adjustments in the air to some passes to set you guys up for a score, and he got himself a touchdown.
That's Joey Isabella as I know him. He makes critical catches at critical times, as well as all the others, and I'm so happy to have him back full. He had been nursing a little bit, some injuries early on, getting back into it full speed, and extremely happy to have him back as part of our receiving corps. Really highly intelligent player, one of the hardest working players on our team, in his route running and catches the ball. Trust him in all situations. So really happy to have him back.
Going back to what you're saying about him nursing some injuries early, were you guiding that? Was there sort of a governor that you were putting on him to make sure he got into the conference season as healthy as possible? We were sort of noticing the snap count. He wasn't getting a ton of reps, but certainly, especially against West Virginia Wesleyan, you saw him healthy and contributing.
Yeah, I mean, we try to get guys to play at their full speed and get that timing with Darius. I mean, that's all part of it, how much practice and, who's getting the reps. And, we're just continuing to keep that chemistry going. And so through the first couple of weeks, we were finding our place, who's going to play in what spots receiver-wise. And, he came into camp and was nursing a little bit of injuries, and so it took a little time to get us going there.
Jermaine Johnson had a couple touchdowns as well. Can you talk about his game some?
Well, I'm happy for him because he came last year and he was injured. And so he's been working really hard and fought through the injury and fought through getting acclimated to the program and getting used to our system, and worked hard in the spring. And, the first couple games, some of the other guys got some of the touchdown passes. And so I was happy to see it pay off for him, the hard work that he's been doing. He's a talented young man, getting used to our system now. He's been with us for a while, so he understands it, and now it can pay off for him and for our football team.
On the topic of health, you were able to work some of the offensive linemen back who had been banged up during the FBS games. One of the big storylines in the win over Youngstown State was how you had so many backups in there and still won the game and had a big day rushing. How is the health of the offensive line collectively tracking into this one against LIU?
Those guys are all getting back. They're starting to practice. We're getting the athletic trainers telling us it looks really good for Saturday. And so, they've been doing some walkthroughs. They've been doing some jog throughs, and we get them full go here, and we'll get them ready to go on Saturday. So that's a really good thing for us.
Speaking of the run game, you got some nice contributions from guys besides Jamario Clements in that game against West Virginia Wesleyan. Good day for the backs overall, it looked like.
Yeah, that's what we talked about, getting some young guys some reps, not only in in practice, but at the end of that game. And so that builds that depth in that room where those guys now are comfortable being in a college football game. As we saw, Sean Solomon has stepped up with Taj injured, and some of the younger guys got some quality reps, and it paid off.
Yeah, Deshaun Hopkins looks like he's got some quicks, huh?
He's got a little jump to him, yeah, and did a really good job in the system, because that's always, young guys got to execute the system, the new system when they get here, when they get in that fire of the game.
Luke Miller, linebacker, I know he was co-defensive player of the week 2 weeks ago, and then had a big interception in the first series against West Virginia Wesleyan. Can you talk about his game and coverage and how that was highlighted on that play? Yeah,
he's an athlete. He can run. Like we talked before, he's not as big in stature as most inside linebackers, but he uses his athletic ability, and for him to get back and get his hands on that ball, he's a good cover guy. So I was happy for him. The team was really happy for him. He's one of the most positive guys on our football team.
Big picture, how do you feel like this pre-conference season has girded you for the conference campaign here? You've got 4 games under your belt. Now you start things off in NEC play. How do you feel you're fitted going into the conference season?
I think our guys have worked really hard in the offseason, progressed through the non-conference season, are ready to go. And so they understand it's one game at a time, it's one play at a time. And so we have a lot of veterans who have been through this situation, so that's going to help us. But you never know till you get there, and you're grinding out play by play. And I like where this football team is. I like this staff. We're going to get prepared and go play this game and play our best football game at this point in the season.
Now, I remember when you played the Sharks last year, I called the game from right here in this room because we couldn't get to New York. That was the day of the big rainstorm. That was a crazy day and a wild game, too. You guys came back from a 21-7 deficit. You got up 28-21. They tied it. You came right back and kicked the game-winning field goal. What do you remember about the swings of emotion in that game? And do they kind of play the same way this season?
They're a really good football team. They have been a really good football team since they joined our conference. We've had battles with them. They're 0-5 right now. They're probably the best 0. They are the best 0-5 team in the country. Might be the best 0-5 team in history of college football because they're a really good team. They've played some tough games, and so they're going to be ready to go. And we always have battles with them, so it's going to be a challenge. Last year has nothing to do with it unless we learn from some of those things and move forward and use them in this game. But our guys understand it's we're going to play. We got to play the best football game we can here, and then that'll give us a chance in the fourth quarter.
The one guy you can learn from, after having played him before, now he's back again, is Lucas Stanzani, their quarterback. Can you speak to his skill set some?
Really talented. We saw him 2 years ago here.
Yep.
He emergency had to go in the game and played a really good football game against us. And then last year he was injured, so he's back, and they use the 2-quarterback system. So
Greenwood runs a lot, right?
Greenwood will run it a lot, and they literally play both of those guys. So it's like 2 different game plans against those guys. So it's a challenge. They're really good. Love's a really good receiver. They got a big offensive line. Their defense does a lot of things that we need to be prepared for. But I'm excited about playing here at Rooney. I'm excited about playing a conference game, and I know our guys are.
Yeah, you had Senior Day in September last week, which was a little different, but I kind of liked it. For folks who didn't understand what was going on there, what were the thoughts of the program to do that in September? It seemed to work, though. I kind of like the premise.
The thoughts are, first of all, we are celebrating their senior season. Why wait till the end? We are now still in celebration. These guys that are seniors are playing their last football game. The weather usually is better on Rooney in September than it is in November. I think I've stood out there when it was 15 degrees and tried to shake hands with. I wasn't sure who it was with all the butter up. So it was a great event. We got first game. Everybody's excited about it, and we had a number of seniors there that we recognize and honored, and we thank their parents for everything they've done.
Well, Jerry, thanks a lot for the time. Best of luck against Long Island University, and best of luck going into the conference season as well.
Thanks, Tim.
All right, Jerry Schmitt, head coach of the Duquesne Dukes, again brought to you by Cordia, creating energy solutions. When we come back, Joey Isabella will join us. We just talked about him a little bit. He's up next as we roll on here in the Duquesne University Football Coaches Show on SportsNet Pittsburgh.
At Cordia, we approach energy from a different point of view, asking what's next instead of what now. Perfecting solutions long before they are needed. Our team pushes boundaries, asks tough questions, and explores every possibility. We drive innovation so the energy you rely on today paves the way to a more sustainable tomorrow. Cordia, creating energy solutions.
The reason we do this is to change the lives of patients for the better. Pancreatic cancer has a reputation for being a tough cancer to deal with. If you can add mileage to someone's life, the ability for patients to live longer, enjoy time with their family, witness a wedding of a daughter or a son, that's really what we're aiming for.
At Duquesne, it's our joy to help you discover what you're good at and why that's good for the world. We want you to become a problem solver who thinks bigger, who is driven by compassion and empathy. Together, we will work towards achieving your goals and a greater sense of purpose. We're ready with an education that's everything you need and more than you imagined. It's time for bigger goals. Duquesne University.
And welcome back to the Duquesne University Football Coaches Show. Tim Benz along with you. Pleased to be joined right now by Joey Isabella, who is brought to us by Summit Academy and the Academy Schools, inspiring hope through education and treatment. Well, Joey, thanks a lot for taking some time to join us. We were just talking with Coach Jerry Schmitt about your game and how it has progressed during your time here at Duquesne. First and foremost, you're healthy, and that's really important. You're dealing with an Achilles issue in the early stages of the season coming out of camp. How is that progressing, and how do you think you and the team handled that in the early weeks to make sure that you're primed and ready to go for the conference campaign?
It was awesome. I worked with Steve, a trainer, and he's awesome, and he helped get me back 100%. Not dealing with any issues at all with that right now. And coaches are good. I have a lot of experience with injuries here, so that helped a lot, just being calm and keeping myself grounded, and worked hard to get 100% healthy.
Expanding on that, I imagine, when you play teams like Toledo and Boston College, who are FBS opponents, you really want to get out there and show your wares. But as we were talking about with Coach Schmitt for the team, the big picture is what can you do in conference play. So were you all right with how they were sort of judicious with your snap count and bringing you along so that your health stayed in line with where you could be best heading into conference play?
Yeah, there's definitely a mental challenge there. Like, you want to play in those games as an FCS player. But yeah, the coaches, they know best, and I trust them completely. And they obviously made the good decision, because I'm feeling 100% now, and going to conference play, and we look good, so I'm excited. Along
those lines, you looked really good yourself in that last game against West Virginia Wesleyan. Made a couple of really nice adjustments and some balls with Jordan Heisey, one in the end zone for a touchdown, one down the sideline, a big play, I think, to set up your own score there. Just talk about the chemistry that you built with Jordan along the way, and practices and things of that nature, and how it manifested in the game when he had to start for Darius.
Yeah, Jordan has a good connection with everyone. He's one of those guys who goes in there every single day before practice, work, and after practice, throwing with guys. So even if you don't get much reps in practice, he's going to be there after practice, and you can go there and run routes for him. He's out there every single day throwing for guys. So he has a good connection with everyone. And I was excited for him to get the opportunity, and he played up to his ability, and it was awesome to see.
One talking point that existed going into the season, I think it's still one to track as the conference season started, is as a group, the wide receiver core doesn't have the big outside the numbers, long catch radius, throw it up and let him go get it kind of guy. You guys are a little bit more collectively of the same stature. You run a lot of the same way and the same routes. How have you guys figured that out? With guys like Irby getting woven into the mix. You don't have Keyshawn Brown, you don't have Powell, big guy outside the numbers. How have you guys overcome that kind of collective, maybe lack of height, to work with one another as a group?
Yeah, it's definitely been weird. Every year I've been here, I feel like we've had that big guy on the outside.
Right, yeah.
Who just throw the ball up to, and this year...
Abdul, Jana, before Darius, yeah.
Cyrus, too.
Cyrus, yeah.
But this year we don't, but we have 8 guys in a wide room who runs good routes, and we can trust out there starting for the Dukes this any game, and so it's exciting for that. We're all growing each other. We watch each other run routes and help each other out, and so we have a good connection in the wide room, and I think we have exciting things to come this year.
Jerry Schmitt and I were talking about this on the radio before one of the games. I think it was before, actually, the West Virginia Wesleyan game. What you guys took away from the FBS games, the experience there, in the sense that, especially for you older guys, the upperclassmen who have been through that before, maybe for the younger guys or the guys who are just transferring in, about, we're going to be okay even though the scores might look lopsided the next morning after you play up in competition. And it seemed to really come to fruition against Youngstown State. Like, there continued to be a buy-in despite what it might have looked like on paper against Boston College and Toledo. Did the older guys kind of guide the newer guys through that to understand that process?
Yes, 100%. We have experienced some big losses like that before, but like, you watch the film and there's opportunities there for us to be made, and we just got to capitalize on that. And that's how you watch film. You can't look at the score and see like how bad you lost. You just look at what you missed and what you messed up and try to improve that for the next week. And we kept that mindset, and it showed out against Youngstown State.
As you guys now enter the conference season, do you feel like what you went through against the likes of Toledo and BC and the big win against Youngstown State, has that prepared you for what you're going to see in the NEC this year?
It's definitely helped us get a lot of confidence, I'd say, going to the season. But NEC, it's a new season. This is what matters for winning the conference and stuff. So we got to keep that confidence high and work hard every single day. Like, we had a good practice yesterday. Keep that up these next 2 days and get ready for first conference game this Saturday. Again, maybe drawing on past experience here, but when you've played against the Sharks, what do you remember about sort of the ping-pong effect of these games? Like, if you're down early, that doesn't mean anything, and if you're up early, that doesn't mean anything either, right? Yeah, we had some close games. I think we went to second overtime 2 years ago against them, and we had some close games against them. And I think this year, even though they're on 5, I think it's the best they've looked. So we're preparing and their defense looks very strong, and trying to game plan correctly for them. Your brother Andy Isabella, an NFL wide receiver, what have you learned by watching him and his development, and how have you tried to apply some of his traits in your game? It's definitely a blessing having an older brother like that. Not a lot of people have that. He had a great college run and stuff, so he's able to guide me as well. Like, I can ask him a lot of things that I have problems with stuff, and he's often experienced the same thing at times, and he's able to give me good advice on what to do and how to follow him. And it's awesome. It's a blessing to have someone like that in my life. Has he come to see your games? Yeah, he came to the Youngstown game, and he came to the Boston College game. So it was fun to have him at those ones, because he's not a team right now. He's just roaming around free agency, trying to find a new team this year. And so he's been able to come to some games for the first time, which was awesome. And that was probably fun for you to go to Youngstown and for him to go see you play, because that's not terribly far from where you grew up, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a close one. I had a lot of people there at that game, and having him there as well, it was fun to see, especially when that game, it felt even better. And you had a huge catch along the way in that game, right? Yeah, it took a good shot over the middle, but it was definitely, it set up a good play, good drive there, good points before the halftime. Yeah, I thought that was one of the big turning points in the game, actually, that drive after you guys got the ball back. I just felt like you guys took advantage of Youngstown, maybe expecting you to get a few yards, but run out the clock. You guys really pushed it down the field and got a score. And maybe the biggest play of the game, and you can tell me about this from a receiver's perspective. I know it wasn't you on the receiving end, but that play that Darius made on the 3rd and 19 after the pick might be one of the plays of the year so far. 100%, yeah. That I mean, if he doesn't make that play, that's a different game. So that was definitely one of the biggest plays of the year. And a nice play by Irby on the other end, right? Yes, 100%. Well, Joey, thanks a lot for the time. Greatly appreciate it, and best of luck as the conference season starts here against Long Island University. Awesome, thank you. All right, Joey Isabella, our guest here on the Duquesne University Football Coaches Show, brought to us by Summit Academy and the Academy Schools. Back with more in a moment here on SportsNet Pittsburgh.
For all your sports watching needs and great food, meet me at Mike's. Mike's Beer Bar was voted best sports bar in Pittsburgh. 300 local beers, 80 local taps, over 500 beers, and steak on a stone. Mike's Beer Bar, next to PNC Park, Federal Street, North Shore.
As Western Pennsylvania's largest regional public accounting firm with local ownership and management, Schneider Downs gives you the global ideas your company needs right here at home. Schneider Downs. Big thinking, personal focus.
Science doesn't happen in a silo. More and more, we need to have expertise from lots of different fields. And so that's one of the amazing things here at Hillman. Everyone here is committed to doing research that is going to ultimately help patients' lives. So bringing together lots of different smart minds that have a common mission is really the way that we're going to move forward.
It's time to look behind the numbers, courtesy of the accounting and consulting firm Schneider Downs. Find out how big thinking with a personal focus can help your organization. Brian Brudswitz drained a 34-yard field goal with 3 seconds left to lift Duquesne to a victory at LIU in last season's NEC opener, 31-28. The Dukes overcame an early 14-point deficit and scored twice before the break to make it 21-all at halftime. Duquesne took the lead 28-21, then with 3:33 left, LIU tied it on a 90-yard touchdown run. Darius Parentis threw 3 touchdown passes in the win, 2 going to Teddy Afool. In the last meeting at Rooney Field in 2022, Joey Isabella caught 2 late touchdowns in a wild double overtime game, but the Sharks prevailed 50-48. The Dukes are 34-12 in NEC action at Rooney Field since 2010, with 5 unbeaten home conference slates. Duquesne was voted to repeat as NEC champions in the league's preseason coaches poll, while LIU garnered 1 first-place vote and was picked 4th after a 4-3 NEC record in 2023. Redshirt junior running back Jamario Clements enters conference play, averaging a league-leading 86.5 rushing yards per game. Sophomore defensive end Jack Dunkley has 4 tackles for loss and 3 sacks this season, which both rank 3rd most in the NEC. That was a look behind the numbers, courtesy of the accounting and consulting firm Schneider Downs. Find out how big thinking with a personal focus can help your organization. On Saturday, October 5th, the Dukes will host LIU for its Northeast Conference opener as part of Homecoming and Family Weekend at Rooney Field. Kickoff is scheduled for 1 p.m. For tickets and more game day information, visit GoDuquesne.com. This Road Ahead segment is brought to you by Dean Honda. Dean Honda, visit them on Route 51 in Pleasant Hills or at DeanHonda.com.